Here we are, dear viewers, with the Messiah Files episode 6. And as already the 5 episodes has been presented by our Honorable Syed Mujtaba. And for the 6th episode, over to you, Shah. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Let me, as usual, turn the camera off and start the presentation. Okay, with my screen being shared, let me quickly get into it. We have a lot to unpack today. Is the episode 6, as Sheikh Saab mentioned. And in this episode, we'll be looking at a variety of features of our discussion, especially with regard to Mirza Saab, as to what the motivations could have been. So the title of today's presentation is "Rupees the Greatest." It translates into Urdu as "Sabse bada rupaiya," if you understand that. It's a popular saying that says that money is the greatest, and people feel that. And we chose this for a purpose. So to understand Mirza Saab's actions, we have to go to his childhood because every adult has a hallmark of their actions based into their childhood. So every tree has a root, and every behavior has its link to the childhood. To understand Mirza Saab, we have divided, after a lot of discussion, his possible motives into 4 categories. One is money, the other is status, education, psychology. Today we'll be talking about money, and that is the overwhelming personality trait that influenced his actions, according to our research. So let's quickly get into it. Before we do that, let's understand what money is and what role it's playing in our lives today. So, the psyche of our world, as you probably have seen around us, we have a lens that sees wealth and rich as one, and we see poverty and poor people as one. And we see them differently. I'm going to clarify what I mean by that. The idea behind that is that we see wealthy people as must be favored by God. They're blessed with all of this wealth, and they are right, and they worked very hard to get where they are. And we see poor people and poverty as something is definitely wrong. It must be cursed or irresponsible, and this is largely the perception that has been built over time. And it's not absolutely general, but it's found in variety of places without discrimination of demographics or race or anything. We find this worldwide. And the perception that a rich person has been blessed, I don't disagree with it. I mean, whatever has been given is given by Allah. But we really don't know whether it is beneficial to the rich person. Many rich people suffer from depression, anxieties. Their kids are into all kinds of, I don't want to specifically name things, but you already know what I'm talking about. So the poor person may raise a very good family, honest kids, kids who have careers and so on. So we really cannot judge a person's blessings from Allah purely on the context of how much wealth they have. And we have seen people who are wealthy fall down, and we've seen people who have nothing rise up. So it's a perception, but largely we see it like this. But if we go back in time a little bit, if we look into the past, maybe colonial times, and especially war and situations like that, poor people in poverty are generally looked down upon in uh, in more severe ways than you can imagine. Like, for instance, people may in fact avoid meeting these poor people because they think their bad luck is contagious. They may feel that, oh, evil eye will fall on us if these people see what we are doing. So they all kinds of myths and traumas and behaviors, and this is all related to a person's economic position in society. And why is this important? Is because the truth about wealth is that in subcontinent, I have particularly noticed that a lot of the wealth perceptions are based on the narrative that it's divine, and you could fix it by going to a pir or baba, or putting a thread on a shrine, or putting it on your wrist, or making a mannat. Mannat is very common in our part of the world. Good or bad, right or wrong, I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that it happens. And so luck essentially is seen as, a favor, a destiny. He was lucky, he was at the right time, it's a blessing. But the truth is not that. The truth is that wealth now, and it's been revealed over and over again, and you can find these rise of companies and owners and new unicorn companies, that they have good products. They have entered at the right time. They have used the opportunities correctly. They've made good networks, and they have taken strategic advantage. So you see people like, I mean, I don't want to take names because that's not really our concern here, but these people have entered the markets just at the right time and made use of the opportunities. That's what wealth is. Do you think the top 10 billionaires of the world have gone to a shrine, have done a mannat, have worn a specific type of a thread on their wrists? They don't do any of that. That the reason simply is because no matter how many threads you wear, it doesn't matter. End of the day, you need to apply the basic principles of making money. And but unfortunately, a superstition and how can I say, trying to phrase it differently, the lack of effective belief and the overwhelming reliance on divine makes us believe that wealth is a function of divine. So, moving forward, how do we see money generally? And we see it as validation, we see it as security, we see it as freedom. So, you can virtually do anything, travel anywhere, buy anything, get away with anything. We see money as power. People use it as that as well. And money is a moral sign. See how blessed I am. That's because I've done this right, or I'm close to God, or things of that nature. And money is a divine right. I have a right to get the money of people. And then again, there are other forms as well of views. Like people think money is because they're clever. Even scammers apply this logic that yes, I'm able to get the money out because I'm clever enough to do this. So we have a variety of perceptions related to money. It could be combination of all of them or one of them. It depends. So how do we form these perceptions about money? What is it that happens in our bodies, chemically and biologically, that programs us to believe in a certain way? We talked about in episode 2 about limbic system, which is the emotional center of our brain, and we talked about the rational brain. And now we're going to talk about two chemicals. We already know them: cortisol and dopamine. Cortisol is a chemical that we produce in our bodies when we are stressed. So a lot of people know cortisol as a weight gain chemical or hormone, and dopamine is a pleasure chemical. So whenever you have something you enjoy, dopamine is released. So it gives you that high. And now, understanding that, so how do we work with the perception of different things? To help explain that, I've used this illustration here. So imagine a brain, limbic system of the brain, having a camera. And every single memory that happens to us, every single situation that happens to us is snapped into a picture. And depending on the type of frame that the brain uses, so the red color depicts here cortisol. So any memory that's stored with a red frame is stored with cortisol, which basically means a person is stressed in that memory. And blue color depicts here dopamine. So anything pleasurable is stored into the brain using the blue frame. So let me give you the example here. Imagine people going for a match, the same exact match, same exact scoreboard, but the person whose team is losing sees this with stress because they don't like that. Whereas the other person will enjoy this match and see it as dopamine. So for one, the exact same thing is cortisol. For the other, exact same thing is dopamine. So it depends on the person and not on the environment. So let's go back to this again to get this clear because it's going to be relevant to our discussion ahead. So the negative feedback and stress and what have you will go into the brain, limbic system, as cortisol. And anything that's pleasurable, something that's achievement, positive reinforcement, your dreams coming true, all of those things is going to give you a high, and that's through a dopamine release. So that's how it's being processed. It's not exactly scientific, but it's very close to being scientific in simple terms. So, do children have dopamine and cortisol? They do. Even animals have it, even plants have it. If you move a plant from here to there, they get into something called transplant shock. They go through stress. Everything in this world that's living will undergo some form of stress. And so the kids who are playing, I've taken pictures here of colonial times because our subject today is that. So, in any time, really, even if you look at pictures of earthquakes and so on, kids find ways to play. And that's because their brain wants to liberate them from the stress. And it's when the kids are playing and interacting with each other, they are releasing dopamine through that. I mean, what happens to kids who are isolated? They also have dopamine release. And the isolated kids have dopamine from ideas, from fantasies, from reading, from drawing, from things like that, isolated activities, more static. If you see children who are more social, they prefer to play outside, they'll get dopamine release from that. They, friendship gives them dopamine release, approvals, sharing something, discussing about the last match victory or whatever. It gives them dopamine release. So these are binding to them in terms of pleasure. But how we seek pleasure as children, two different things. So someone could really get a dopamine release from being isolated. So let's move further. So how do we see money? I'm talking literally, how do we see money? So a child becomes impressionable about everything in life from a very early age. You're impressionable, and your impressions of that, it depends on your circumstances. So a child will find anxiety, stress based on the circumstances. So money is introduced to the children at a very young age, even these days, pocket money and so on. The concepts are all there. So how does the psyche of a child work with money? Also, it's encoded through memory, and it's also encoded through cortisol or dopamine. So the child may in fact relate to money through cortisol, or may also relate it through dopamine release. Now, both of these things are going to be dependent on how the child was introduced. So to help explain that, I'm going to take this example here. So let's also ask this question: at what age do humans realize money is invaluable? Of course, it's a subjective thing. It depends on different societies, but let's generalize this so we can move with this argument. So if the household is stable financially, there are no troubles. The child will understand money is valuable at the age of 10 to 14 of their life. It doesn't have to be 10, but on an average, you can argue 10 to 14 years, they realize money is valuable. How? They get pocket money, they can spend it on friends, they are able to go, arcade, play games. So money is getting them things done. So they understand that. Whereas a child in financial distress, in a household that's facing financial distress, will see money as valuable for different reasons as young as 6 years to 8 years. They will understand, okay, money is very important. Now let's move forward. At the age of 4 to 6 years, they also realize money is important, especially in debt trauma. So if the family is going through severe hardships, there's a lot of debt, there will be psychological issues going on in the house, and they will see it inevitably. They don't know what money is. Children don't know that. Children don't know what's the difference between a dollar and a pound. They don't know if what's the exchange rate and how the IMF regulates things. They don't understand any of that. They just know money as a tool to get certain things done. And when they see a sort of a collapse around them, arguments, fights, anxieties, they will pick that up and they will associate money to that stress. So, understandably so, you can see here that trauma and financial stress is going to drive them to see money with cortisol. Whereas the kid who's enjoying a stable household will have a dopamine release with money. So, yes, they both realize money is valuable for different reasons. So let's apply this and see where this goes. So, last summer her life, there's a household where there's financial distress, and kids are viewing it as such, and they are able to observe parents are arguing and what have you. I mean, things like that. They're going to pick it up, and from overhearing their parents, observing lifestyle drops such as changing locations or moving different countries, even in some cases, and all the sort of sacrifices that go on in this particular area, that will be imprinted in their brain as cortisol. That's the stress that they're going through, and so they will associate money with fear, silence, or panic. They will see the anxiety, they will see the lack of harmony, they might see fights, they might see other things. So it gets impressioned into their brains that money is very valuable and it's causing them a lot of stress. And as I mentioned to you, it can happen at a very early age, and even at age of 4 years. So I'm talking here specifically about a debt trauma. So a child will see debt trauma, and the word debt will become imprinted in them as danger, a shame, because debt always brings with it some sort of humiliation, and then loss of control. So a person under such immense stress is obviously uh, going to feel all of these things and more. Now, what happens is it's again a cortisol memory. We remember that red color frame. That's what's happening right now. So the it unfortunately this kind of learning of money is not teaching about money. It's just teaching them the powerlessness that a person feels when they don't have money. And this triggers different kinds of reactions. We'll talk about them now. So the effect of debt trauma in child, how does it present itself when they grow up? So they will see money as survival. Obviously, yeah, I mean, a dead person, what do they need? They just need money to move on to the next day. So it becomes part of a survival instinct, if you will. And they will have hypersecurity or hoarding pattern. They just want to collect money because they feel if I lose this, I'm going to lose virtually everything. It's not always the case, but overwhelmingly, yes. Money as freedom from humiliation, yes, obviously. And money as emotional relief. So if you get money, you say, oh, wow, thank God for that. I mean, you should say that virtually in every ni'mah, but I'm just saying it becomes more centric to the possession of money. And then they may indulge in get rich quick attractions, like, I mean, because they want money so fast and they don't want to lose it. So it's a combination of things. So, of course, if people see money as virtue of destiny, virtue or destiny. In this particular case, they might say, I've been unlucky, I was born into this, or whatever. We do see that even today, unfortunately. So they will see wealth as proof of righteousness. So if they get money, they say, yes, I deserved it. I mean, I must have done something right. Or then, framing income as blessing. We will talk about this. There are tons of people, especially these fake peers, and they think that money is a tool that God is rewarding them with. And money is control. So the debt trauma also, they can use money as as a control mechanism. So they may use it directly or indirectly, but it's basically a different pattern. So now when they need something as important as money and it's serving them a purpose, they get into compulsive counting and tracking every penny, being super. I think I don't want to use the word, but I think stingy. I would think is applied here. So a variety of presentations. So let's talk about the person we are interested to discuss today, which is Mirza Ghulam Ahmed. And what about him and money that we see in the literature that we have around his life? Unfortunately, not everything is documented properly, in my opinion. Doing this research for 3 years, and I've been doing this with people who are in the know, who know this for many decades, even in some cases. And it's a puzzle that's missing a lot of pieces. And so we've pieced together whatever we could. Please remember that we have taken only the literature that his group has released. None of the arguments we are presenting are from the other literature against him. So this is first of all, this image is not of Mirza or his father. It's a reference image, so it just gives you an indication. So this is from a paper called Tariq Ahmadiyat, and it's specifically referring to a time in his life. And this is quoting his father. And so I'm going to quote it as best as the translation can serve, and the Urdu is right here. But if you are interested, you could get Urdu from this as well. It's very interesting. So his father, on several occasions, with sadness, expressed that one of my sons is able, the eldest son, Ghulam Qadir, is able, and the other one is useless. The word he uses, nalaik, which is incompetent and incapable. I've used useless here, but you could see nalaik essentially is good for nothing. Layak is good. Nalayak is na layak. Now, obviously, is added as a no, so he's completely incompetent. He doesn't know anything and also doesn't do any work. So the Urdu translation here is he doesn't do any work and he doesn't know how to do any work. The Urdu translation is effectively that he is not interested, he doesn't want to do any work. And I'm worried after my death, where will he eat food from? Now, he is literally upset to this degree that he thinks after the father has died, he will struggle to eat food. And sometimes the father used to become sad. He's already sad, but he gets even more sad and say, this boy will be dependent on his brother financially. So his condition was that. Now, uh, obviously, the age range for when this is spoken, it has to be at an age where he should be able to earn. I mean, no father is going to tell his 5-year-old kid that I'm worried that he's incapable of earning anything. I mean, the thing is, he is at an age where other kids are earning, and he is virtually doing nothing. The two things that you need to pick up from here is he is useless, incompetent, and he doesn't know anything, and he doesn't want to learn anything. Now, this is from this particular document. In Urdu, we have presented another document, a couple of them, a couple of references. When he got back after a large stint of his time spent in Sialkot, which we talked about earlier, and nothing changed. He just got back home and started sitting again. And his father and brother literally were very upset at him for doing nothing and just laying around in the house. And in fact, it has been discussed in that particular passage that we have referenced in Urdu. If you like, just comment, we'll send it to you. And both the father and the brother have been quite upset and, in fact, bollocking him as to why is he wasting his time and why hasn't he started doing something. Mind you, at this particular instance, he is 32 years of age. He died at the age of 60 something years, from 1839 to 1908 when he died. This is half mark. He is a father of two kids. One of them is actually now in his late teens. And he doesn't do any work. Now, it's been projected and shown that he was chosen for greatness. Now, the question you should ask is, really? So God wants to elevate his ranks by making him totally incompetent in everything? How does that work? He has to be the worst human being in his family, irresponsible father, irresponsible child, irresponsible brother, and all of a sudden he is the savior? How does that work? No matter how much you gloss over, you really cannot get away with this, because this is a point that cannot be missed. It's simply, I have to stress on this issue. He is into his own world of incompetence and labels this as a choice that God has made on him. I don't agree with it. I mean, we can talk about other Anbiya, and I really don't want to waste my effort on it, because our real prophets of God should not be compared with false prophets. It's simply not necessary. Which is why in Messiah Files, we are trying to take the attention on the person himself rightfully. We don't really need to go open the Quran and find out why Allah said this or why Allah said that, when we know it's not true. So I'm coming to this point here that he has returned. He has taken the money of the father, 700 rupees, which was massive amount of money in those years, spent it, worked, and not sent back even 1 rupee to his family, including his two kids and wife that he had as a responsibility, then gets back home and is doing nothing. And this time he was helping his dad take care of some cases, follow up the cases of things. We will talk about them later on. And they were really worried about him. And the father kept insisting for him to find a job. And he used to say, I will find you work, give you a reference, talk to people, just go and work. And this guy wouldn't do it. Until he left with the 700 rupees, this was his routine. With two kids in the house and a wife, he was just lying around on his bed. He would not do anything. And you have seen that his father has already talked about it. I don't want to go back into that. We have already discussed it. But just imagine the situation of this wife. Which woman is going to be super happy that her husband doesn't do any work, is just sitting in the house and literally wasting his time away? Don't you think a woman would be worried what happens to my kids? What's the future these kids have? How much are we going to borrow from the father or the brother? I mean, all of this is real life things. You cannot construct divine stories in this. I mean, if you look at the normal lives of any human being, whether it's even a Nabi, doesn't matter. These are basic things. And this person does not have the sense of responsibility, even the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I must do something to change this. He doesn't do any of that. His father and brother were constantly on him. He never changed. So he was not earning any money and he was getting all this shouting at home. So let's summarize this to get an idea of what's going on. The family of Mirza was in decline. We know this. His father's lands were confiscated. And there's some mention of it happening 3 years after he was born, which was the end time of the Sikh rule. And he was a lonely person and most of the time at home. And something that's going to be super relevant later on because he was constantly surrounded by women and his thinking was that. And later on as well, he was surrounded by women when he was writing. In fact, there's a mention of a woman taking a bath and he was literally writing at the time and all kinds of stuff. And his general behavior is very feminish, cursing and getting pregnant and all of that. So it will be relevant then. The rupee 700 pension incident. He took his father's pension money and just disappeared into thin air. We've talked about it in the previous episode. If you have not seen it, please go get a bearing on it. It's from their literature. I mean, absolutely, we have not modified even a word in it. And it's horrendous that he takes his father's pension money and just disappears into thin air. We'll be talking about it later on, so I'm just gonna move forward. He didn't earn anything until the age of 22 or 24, and that is because when he went to Sialkot after having spent the 700 rupees, which is a massive amount in those days, he went and found himself a job as a court clerk, and that was the only job that he held in his life, and got 15 rupees a month for it. And that's pretty low as an amount if you consider. So he wouldn't be able to support a family, let alone do much. And his father and brother had expressed frustration. We just talked about that at sitting in his home. I mean, at the age of 32 years, half his life is gone. Two kids at home. So just imagine the father going through. He's been saying this boy is completely incompetent. He doesn't take any interest in work, and he's come back after all this time, and then comes back home and does nothing. So he did not like the experience of work for 15 rupees. I can prove it to you with what I'm about to show you now that he did not enjoy it. Absolutely not. I mean, you spent 700 rupees and now 15 rupees a month. That's 50 pence, 50 paisa a day. I mean, if you take 15 rupees divided by 30 days, it's about 15 paisa a day. That's absolutely insane amount of money. Like for him, having blown up 700. So return home and again no job. Father is insisting for him to find work, and that doesn't seem to happen. And so then he went into something called donations and various schemes that he came up with for money. We'll talk about them one by one as well. Okay, so the family was in decline, so he picked up the trauma of the family being in decline. Obviously, they were supposed to be well off, but they were not. So they were in between. They were not peasants really. They were not zamindars. So he was constantly comparing. So that inferiority complex did develop in him at this time, probably. He was lonely, so he was seeing all things that are happening in home, no social network, nothing of that sort. Then dopamine spike. The first time he got to 700, he absolutely felt elated. I mean, he felt like everything is free. I mean, I'm going with the assumption that if I was him and I got 700 and I really don't care about my wife or kids, and I've shown that. So I literally had to disappear with 700, a lot of money for those days. Now, what are you going to do? Buy yourself a Ferrari? They don't sell Ferraris in those days. So that money is with you. You can literally spend it on anything you want. And that is a high, yeah. So that's dopamine. All this is point of stress for him, like not earning, father is upset and all of that, and wife may be asking him to go and work, and she's constantly asking him, what are you doing? So that's all stress related, even his job, like 15 rupees. And then donations and other schemes, this is where he got another dopamine spike, because I'll show you now how it worked. So remember the colors, yeah. Those are not blue is not dopamine color. I just chose them for reference. So uh, in this particular case as well. So until the age of 14, 17, he got married at the age of 15. He had a son at the age of 16. So he wasn't working. So this entire period is cortisol period. A father is insisting to go to work. He doesn't want to work. He's just sitting at home and seeing a child. He didn't relate to the child as much. We talked about that, and we will talk about it again when we come to social bonding later. So this is marriage and child, 14 to 17, cortisol period. Um, Dopamine release from other people's money, 700, the pension money situation. So that's the time when he got the blue, like the real high. Then you look at the other period, which is 15 rupees job per month. I mean, he's not definitely enjoying it. So that's a period of his life that is, again, I will consider into the cortisol zone because he really didn't enjoy it. And then when you look at the failure, when he comes back and then he's sitting at home and virtually just spending his time away and father is on him, that's again a period of cortisol. So we go back to him starting to do this donation business and raise money and do these debates and everything. Then he's into dopamine zone again. What happens when you are in a dopamine zone? You always go back to it. You always go back to what you enjoy. He enjoyed other people's money. And it is not even an allegation, it's proven fact. He used one scheme or another to keep taking money from people. And it persisted. And I'll show you how. So now let's go into the money fixation. We talked about possibly how his dopamine and cortisol have imprinted the money matters in his brain. Obviously, there are so many other aspects to this. We will talk about them one by one, but let's do the money thing today, so we can come to the rest of them, and then we'll combine them all, collate them all together, and then you will get an idea about where we are. So the money fixation is what we are talking about now. Some examples, and again from his own literature. When his father died in 1876, you remember the father was saying, "What happens to him when I die? He won't be able to eat, and he'll have to depend on his brother, and so on." So this is what he says. He says that he found out about his father dying from just an abstract ayat of the Quran that he plucked out from somewhere and said, I got to know my father's going to die." Obviously, he would know he will die. Like, I mean, it is, people were dying at the age of 65 in those years. Life expectancy was short. And for all purposes, he didn't die coming from the gym. I mean, he was an old man going through a lot of stress. And so he just framed that into a divine. We'll talk about why he framed everything divine. So then he says that now this is important because we're talking money fixation here, right? So God gave him a consolation first of all, having sent Malakul Maut in the morning to take the soul out, and in the evening says, don't worry, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That's how he's projecting God. Anyway, he says God said, "I will be a father to you now." So God is saying, "I'll be a father to you now. Since your father is gone, the one who provided for you, he's gone. Now I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to take care of your livelihood, including your debts and everything else." I'm not going to talk about this dream here. We'll talk about them later because this is important. I'm going to talk about the other ones, which is he sees a dream of angel dropping money on his lap and says, victories have come to him and people can go and check and verify it. We'll talk about this in the next slide. The other example I want to take is that he is Krishna. That's another one in a dream, and people are giving him valuables, which is money. Literally mentions the word money in there. And he makes challenges and bets to people using money. So he keeps challenging people with money. And okay, if you want to do this, put 1,000, put 500. Why he does that? Then on various occasions, we have seen him accepting money. All kinds of stories. I'm not going to quote them here, but just to give you an example, a person had come up to him and said he had inherited some money, which he know has come from prostitute saving, and he said that, "Is it okay for me to use this money?" So he ends up giving instruction that no, it's not good for you, but you can give it to us. It's all there, by the way. If you want, just message and I'll provide you the reference for that. Let's look at this dream, the all popular Tichi dream. Now, let's go one by one. I dreamed. So, dream. You must please remember these words, dream. So, it is a dream, yeah? It's a state of mind that he's trying to show you that he was sleeping and it came to him naturally. So, there's nothing from him, yeah? I mean, so the word dream is involuntary. That a person appeared to him who appeared to be an angel. He doesn't mention how he appeared as an angel, but he thought he's an angel. So that's important. The word angel, and then he drops a large amount of money into my lap. So that angel comes in and drops a large amount of money. It's not money. Please look at the context here. A large amount of money. So there is a volume. Yeah. So when I asked him his name, he said nothing. I insisted, at least tell me something. He said, my name is Tichi. Wow. So he says, my name is Tichi. We know that no prophet has mentioned about angels' names being this abstract. So he has to throw in a commentary in here. So people, this was his habit. So if he is leading you on a path, he will keep giving you commentary for you to be in sync with what he wants you to believe. So it's not up to you to believe. He wants you to believe certain things, and he's playing that. So he says, Tichi in Punjabi language means the appointed time or the one who comes at the very moment of need. So he just came up with a full blown mythology right behind this word Tichi. He came up with the word Tichi and then a story behind it. Now, no mention of where it says this, that an angel has been named Tichi. But anyway, we're not interested in that. We'll talk about dreams. There's an episode on dreams about it, so we'll talk about it then. Now, what we are focusing on after that. So this dream happened in the year 1905. So he died in 1908. So he's literally 3 years before his death. This Tichi has showed up. So we look into this, yeah. So whether through postal means or directly through people's hands, such abundant financial victories occurred. Abundant financial victories? What are you talking about? Who considers taking money from people as abundant financial victory? Is that even a definition of victory? Asking people for donation and people giving you money is sort of a victory? Like, realistically, which person on earth begs on the street, gets money, and calls it a victory? Who would do that? You can call it generosity of people. You cannot call it victory of yourself. He says abundant financial victories. It has been in Urdu. It is, if I remember correctly, it is futuhat. It is like fatah, inna fatahna laka. So he says this is a futuhat. This is a victory. He has been made victorious by getting other people's money. Now, look at the other point. Anyone who wants to verify this can go and check with the postal register. From the 5th of March until the end of the year, they can take an audit report from there and see, oh my God, he got this much money. Wow, he made such massive victories. Now, let's look at this again. He dreamed an angel came to him and dropped in a large amount of money, said, my name is Tichi, which is full blown Harry Potter, and then says, abundant financial victories. This is where I'm very concerned, that he sees it as a game and victory taking other people's money. When people talk, they expose themselves. A good friend of mine who worked with me on this project, he's a psychologist. He said, whenever a person tells something about themselves, believe it. He said, just believe it because they just told you. And he's saying financial victory to getting donations of people, and these are poor people who are giving him money. So all his life, other people's money was a victory for him. And I'm not led into believe this by my own. I'm believing what I'm seeing. This is what he said. So why seeing money in dream is disturbing? Okay, I could dream about money. You could dream about money. I think I've dreamt about money as well. But the question is not seeing money in dreams. Like, I mean, what dominates the inner world appears in dreams. So if you're possessed by a thought and obsessed by a thought, it will come to you in your dream. It's just normal. But dreams, they typically they amplify the fear, the desire, your needs. So if you are in desperate need of something, your dream will somehow present that to you. And I challenged this. I was talking. The Urdu podcast was telling people about nobody in subcontinent dreams about polar bears or penguins and grizzly bears, because that's not what they're thinking. They will be scared of a cobra coming in there. No Alaskan guy is going to have a uh, cobra in their dreams. They hardly see any reptiles. It's so cold over there. I don't think they exist even. So the point I'm trying to make here is our brain synthesized using the already stored memory, and the desires, the fears we have, it constructs it. I'm not saying all dreams are bad, but these are recurring dreams. Yeah, we'll talk about them now. So what he does, he's mixing angel and God into money. Now, an angel has come drop a huge pile of money on his lap, and God has said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of your money." Okay, so he's linking God. We talked about people seeing money as divine. This is where I'm going towards. So the theological centrality of money imagery here is hard to miss. And then he's mixing money repeatedly with sacred narrative. So people believe that he has a divine right to get money because the money that he's taking will eventually be framed as divine, and he's portraying that now. So it's an attempt also to make money as proof of truth. See, go and verify. Didn't I get it? Just go and check in the post office how much money come to me. I mean, who talks like that, really? People have lent you money. If anything, it proves that you are going and asking people for donations. The fact that people are giving you donation doesn't make you victorious. It doesn't make you even legit. And that's exactly what he's saying. This is an interesting dream, yeah. Where again, I'm going to allude to a couple of points here. We have a full blown episode on him and dreams, so I'm not going to give much away here, but I'll tell you where it is. So this is from Al-Fuzat, volume 3. So you could message us and we'll give you the full reference. He saw a dream. He is Krishna, sitting on a square throne. So he describes the throne in quite detail. It's a big throne, square. So I don't know why it's a square throne, because I think it's the bottom part where it is a squarish throne. Anyway, so he's sitting on a square throne. So a person is asking, where is Krishna? So a person walked into this grand situation and says, where's Krishna? So they point to him. Now, this has also happened in his other dreams, by the way. He just becomes a bystander. And people are asking, where is this guy? And they say, it's him. I mean, this is a personality of a person who doesn't want to claim anything on themselves. They want themselves to be passive even though they're asking. I mean, this is a very characteristic. If you watch any movie of Steven Spielberg or any of these people, you will know it's them because it's signature. They do that kind of work. Mirza's dreams all have common patterns in them, all of them. And so, imagine Krishna sitting there. Imagine walking into a wedding, and the groom is sitting on a stage, and the person says, "Where's the groom?" He's right here. I mean, he's sitting on a big giant throne, and all the signs are neon signs are saying Krishna here, and he says, "Where's Krishna?" This is, you remember the narrative of teaching meaning this and that. This is again an explanation, silently, sublime explanation. Then they point to him, and all the Hindus start giving money as gift. And then one of the Hindus just gets up and says something to the effect of, uh, you know, Krishna, something. He starts singing some praise to him. Now, I'm going to make 2 points in here. He wanted to sit on a throne. He had a huge fetish for something like that, to become a grand king and people around him and all that. He had that. And we're going to talk about it in other episodes and bring other personality traits into this. You'll know it. Islam doesn't provide that. No prophet of God has sat on a throne and people around him. No one has. Like, I mean, sitting on a throne, I mean, we only know Dawud alayhi salam had a kingdom. But the story of Sheba and all of that, that's the only one we know. He wasn't literally sitting on a throne. He wanted to sit on a throne. So this Hindu mythological sitting on throne provided him that. So it was an added, tick mark for him. And then he mentions categorically Hindus giving him money now. He says rupiah. They're giving him money. So he's now making Hindus sort of an obligation on them to give him money. Obviously, Hindus are going to not even take it seriously. But he attempted this here. He wanted to bring the Hindus into the fold so he can start getting money out of them. Obviously, the Hindus were not foolish enough to follow this. Now, he has done yet another massive distortion of theology. He's done that in Islam quite extensively now. The Buruzi, this Ummati, Nabi, and all the made-up stories that he comes up with just to distort the theology to fit himself. And so if he's a circle trying to fit into a square, he will just slowly deform the square to say, cut this corner, cut that corner, and fit himself in. So that's what he does. So the interesting part is, I've researched this. Krishna was never gifted money. Yes, fruits. Yes, he was king of Dwarka. I mean, he was self-sufficient man. It was the richest kingdom with everything happening. Peace and all of that. So he didn't need money, people's money. He never even demanded it. So he was literally now twisting the theology in his dream to say, I was Krishna and people were giving me money. So remember what we're talking about here, fixation of money. So we talked about God and angel uh, being framed into money. Now Krishna is being framed into money. So see the three things, yeah, that's happened. Now I'm going to talk about this and quickly jump into the other things. So challenge with money. He just used to throw people with challenges. Okay, if you want to challenge me, all right, put 1,000 rupees escrow. We will talk about it. Okay, 10,000 here, 100,000 here, any kind of numbers. Why would anybody want to do that? Like, if you are truthful, just talk. You love debating. If you love debating, we talk about his debates as well. But if you truly enjoy spreading the message, why do you need people to pay money? And if this does not happen, I'll return the money and all kinds of nonsense. We'll talk about that. What is happening is, by putting money on the line, he's trying to show the followers that he has that I have a lot of money. I'm sure of it. I can put this money on the line because I'm so truthful that I can put this money on the line. So the observers feel like confidence, even it's not. It's not confidence. He's not going to put the money. He knows that. If I tell you today, I bet you you cannot count all the stars, and I give you $1 billion for it. I mean, I know you're not going to be able to count all the stars, and I don't have to show you the $1 billion. So it's just a weird sort of an argument. And the other benefit that he enjoyed from bringing money into every challenge is that the people who are poor and they are educated people and they have legitimate points, they're not going to say, I'm going to go and borrow people's money and bring it and put it just to prove you wrong. They say, I don't really care. And they walk away. And then he says, see, they couldn't bring the money. They couldn't prove me I'm wrong. So he used a variety of tricks to convince people. And most of them were centered around money. Because we talked about it, this society was money driven. People who had money seemed divine. Now, why is that important? This is, again, I know people disagree sometimes, but they really can't. Statistically, I'll prove myself right in this particular case. So material success always strengthens authority. It does. Have you been to the Vatican? I have. Imagine if Vatican was just a small, tiny church in the middle of the road somewhere. Just an ordinary church. I'm sure the devout will still go there. It will not be as popular though. Yeah. So the grandiosity of things convinces people that something is right because we see world materialistically. I mean, so now people say God is clearly with him. Man. Look at the results. Look at all of that. I mean, that's insane. I mean, a guy being blessed with all that much, you're saying God's not with him. So religious leaders who display wealth attract donations. If you walk into a 5-star hotel, you can expect to pay a very high room tariff. I mean, also this wealth gives them the other advantage of divine backing as a proof of divine backing. See, the money that's coming in, the barakah that I have, it just keeps coming. So people say, wow, it's a conveyor belt of money. Then God must be very happy with them. So when the followers see large amounts of money with the peer, uh, you know, they, they become more accustomed to seeing the peer as more holier. It's true. And you'll find them wearing weird kinds of rings, and the attire is like Macho Man Randy Savage in WWF, walking in with all those colorful this and colorful that and stuff. And they also use poverty and signs of that in a very clever way. We'll talk about that later on when it comes to Sufism. All that's not interlinked to Sufism, but we still have passage in that. So money flowing towards the peer, gifts arriving without asking. The peer is not even asking, and then support appearing spontaneously, like people are just helping the peer. So they say, "Wow, see, the peer never asked; it was God who made it happen." So they see it as divine endorsement. Wow, peer is getting money, God provides money. Connect the two together, and proof of barakah, confirmation of legitimacy. So this is again, a sort of a spiritual belief that we are unfortunately even living that affliction till today. Now, I want to ask a question. Yeah, hypothetically, if you see, The poor guy sitting in the corner, people may go to him for dua, but they will never go to him for bayah because that guy's poor, man. I mean, you're going to a poor guy for what? For bayah? Well, he's going to make you poor. But if you go to the rich guy, you already know all the rich people are going there. He's a rich guy. And how does that play in? So the peer who cannot even sustain himself cannot sustain you. In fact, you will have to sustain this peer now. You'll have to buy him things. So people say, no, no, this is an added headache for me. This peer is not going to be the kind of guy I want to hang out with. So the rich peer, poor peer situation, rich dad, poor dad. So rich peer, poor peer situation is that for many followers, the logic is he's rich, so he can't be greedy. He already has enough. Why does he need my little? How do you know? All the scammers show big money, all the big cars and big hotels. That's not theirs. They're just showing you it's a Ponzi scheme. You know, so he's provided for, he's connected. The poor guy has got nothing. So you go only for dua, and maybe sometimes when you're desperate, you go to him. But bayat you will take with the big guy. That's default. So what is Mirza done? God is giving me money. All these dreams, we talk about them later on. It's very interesting. His ilhamat, we have done a surgical analysis on it. You will be surprised. So angel is giving him money now. So the people are giving him money. Imagine people living in 1800s, yeah, 1800s, 1902, 1905. They, what do you think life was like? Disparity. Yeah, I mean they didn't have much money. They see these rich people around. They see his thing is growing. People are adding to him, and all the money is coming in, and all of that. They say, yes, he is divine. He's absolutely right. He's not making this up. This is true. And look at this beautiful part here. He's not even asking for it. This humble soul is not even asking. God is providing. Angel just walks up, doesn't want to tell the name. Look at that dream, yeah. He's not even telling them. He just came and dropped the money. He's telling people to be anonymous. Don't, I will ask you. You don't need to tell me. And these are all silent indications he's giving it. So he's not asking. It's given voluntarily and delivered by angels. God is promising, and he's framing this as victory, yeah, sign of divine favor. And this is not incidental. It was very well constructed. Whether it was constructed by him, by people around him, whether he read it in a book, whether he found a crime story in a newspaper, I have no idea. But this was well constructed. Ibrahim alayhi salam had a dream where he was slaughtering his son. Okay. I mean, we know this. Surah Safat, Allah said that. Khasadakta Roya, Allah said that you have made the Roya we given you as a reality. But imagine Ibrahim alayhi salam having a slaughtering dream every day. Every morning he woke up, he's slaughtering a shopkeeper, his neighbor, his uncle, or whoever. You will wonder something is wrong. Because this can't be. You cannot have a recurring dream which is serving you as a purpose. It's not serving anybody a purpose. So, this architecture of these dreams, the way it was organized, the way it was presented, and what was asked at that time, what was asked later, if you look at all of those chronology, you will see a pattern and a full deliberate action. So I'm not asking, I've been given. Now, again, this is rightful, not needy. I'm not needy. The angel came and gave me. God said, I'm going to take care of you. I was Krishna, people were giving it to me. It's not because I was needy, it's because I was already big. And that's the impression. So, generally speaking, dreams reflect, what the mind is rehearsing. We know this. I have reason to doubt that these are even dreams. He was just saying I had a dream. In 1905, March, I had this dream. I have dreams, I don't remember them. You have dreams, you don't remember them. But he remembers them and he publishes them. So what you have unresolved, we're going as per the dream, yeah? So we're saying he had a dream. So we're talking about that. So what threatens identity also comes in dreams. So money appears as rescue, reward, because you remember he never had money. He never had money. The 700 is already owned. And then he started these barahin and this and that, the schemes that he came up with. We'll talk about them later. Dreams don't invent obsessions. They don't. Nobody had a dream of horse riding. Next morning, they woke up and became a horse rider. If they loved horse riding, they'll get it in a dream. So they reveal them. The dreams will reveal what you're obsessing over. It's true. Now, dreams are not concerning. So if somebody had a dream, there's no need to be concerned. Intense dreams like slaughtering a child and all that Ibrahim Islam had. I mean, these are dreams. They're intense. They have very how can I say, very graphic material in it. But end of the day, it's a dream. It's supposed to be unrealistic. It's supposed to be a figment of imagination constructed from a brain's own library of things. I mean, it's possible, right? But what raises a concern is the repetition. Every dream is about him getting money, him getting money, him getting money. I mean, it's a narrow thematic focus. So it is just focused on one central point. And then his personal anxiety has been money. So it's an incentive for him. And then the instrument of dream is being used in here. And I'll talk about them now. So his dreams are him expressing his desires without the ownership of a desire. He's telling you what he wants without telling you what he wants, if you get what I mean. So he's telling you, give me money, but he's not telling you directly. He says, this is what I saw in my dream. So people fill their gaps. The brains will fill their gaps and say, yes, maybe this is what he needs. But, you know, this is a divine favor. If I'm rich enough, I'm gonna have to give it to him because that's essentially what it is, right? So I'm asking a question. Is it a coincidence that whatever he wants, he sees in a dream? Okay, he sees his status in a dream. I've been given the rank of a Nabi. I've been told this in a dream, in a ruya, and this kashaf, and this. Everything that he wants to hear, that he never heard in his life. His father called him incompetent. And this is in a book. Imagine what he was calling him in a real life. Anyway, that's not discussion. He needed money, seeing money in dreams. He wanted to marry Muhammadi Begum, he sees in a dream. I mean, he goes after Muhammadi Begum in a manner that is absolutely, there would have been a case on him this day and age. She could have taken him to court and taken every penny that came in the postal office. But she lived in a very simple time. This poor girl suffered a lot with this harassment that he subjected her to. We'll talk about that. Muhammad Begum is coming up in a very, very different way using the literature. We will analyze it and show it to you how it was conducted. So you will know. Just imagine that girl sitting in the house, dreading to go out because of the constant harassment the family was facing. And all that is happening in dreams. He wants to extend the house, he gets a dream about it. I mean, there's Surat al Mahdi, there's on that. So his son was told that he had a dream that more rooms to be built in the house. And so they interpreted that as Khadian expanding it. I mean, come on, seriously. So, it's suspicious that everything he wants is not asking, but he's saying, I saw it in my dream. He has not had a dream of slaughtering a child. Only Ibrahim alayhi salam had to have that. Like these dreams that he gets are all beneficial to him. It's a narrow thematic focus. So we talk about this. The dream strategy, yeah? So please focus with me on this one. So the transition from dream to the structure. This is important. So he was conditioning, marinating the chicken, if you will, with the dream, and then made it an obligation. How do you do that? So God said, I'm going to take care of your debt. So that's God saying. He didn't ask for it. God volunteered it. Everyone else has to make a dua. So we have to ask Allah for rain. We have to ask Allah for everything. So we have to go on our knees and ask Allah. Ad'uni astajib lakum. Allah did not say that I'm gonna come to you directly. Yes, there are instances in the Quran. Allah says, when Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam looked at the sky, he said that we have seen that you've looked at the sky and we've given you qibla. Surah Al-Baqarah. There are instances of true Anbiya, and that's rare, yeah? Not every single thing is, yeah, God, God, God. No. Then again, the validation, the angel giving him money, Krishna, people giving him money, he's ticking those boxes as well. Then public signaling, right? What is that? Money orders are arriving, go check. It's a divine favor. Futuhat, I have won, victories have come. Now, this portion, he's training the perception of people. That angels are giving, Krishna, people are giving, God is giving. Okay, that's conditioning you to believe that giving to me is a normal thing now. Then the public signaling starts. Money is arriving, my futuhat are happening, and everything else. So this is his authority amplification zone, where now he has given you these dreams. Now he is strengthening it with proof that, see, it has come. People are sending, it's happening. And he's throwing challenges. Okay, you want to challenge me? Put the money on. So this is a public display of money. We talked about why he does that for several reasons. Then he makes it institutionalized, which is basically making it more and more structured. So what happens here is dreams are preparing the ground. The moral obligation is made now, established because people are giving. Eventually, the irregular gifts now have become a chanda, a systemized thing, right? So the authority has now become permanent. He will continue to receive. It's not going to be an option for you. Money will become a moral obligation. You have to give it now. In my name, in God's name, in the name of the deen, to expand this masjid, it doesn't matter. There will be one scheme or another. When we come to his schemes, he has come up with virtually every scheme. At this stage, he doesn't need dreams. He's already, the dreams have done their job. Now the moral obligation has fit in, the religious obligation has fit in. So the authority will now sustain itself. So he will continue to receive the money. Okay, the dreams, yeah. I think it served two purposes for him. One, he wanted to believe those things. He was obsessed over them, and he saw it in those dreams. If he had those dreams, so he believed in all the things. Like he wanted to be Krishna, he wanted to get money, all those things he believed in it. And by him publishing it, he was letting other people see it. So it was a projection for him. So it's serving two purposes of many purposes. Now, why dreams? Dreams cannot be verified. You cannot say he did or did not have. It's a matter of interpretation. If you believe the guy, you'll believe his dream. If you don't believe him, you'll call everything a lie. So he gets away with that. And of course, he's showing you there's money coming in, so you'll have to believe. No, if 2 plus 2 is 4, and you only know 1, 2, and then you know 4, so you can 4 minus 2 is 2. So you get that kind of rational mathematics in your head. You say, okay, he's saying he had a dream. Now he got the money, means he's right. So he's making that his dreams as a validation and proof of his being divine. Now, you can see it here, like, I mean, how he's working with this. And we are again talking about people who didn't know much. People today are giving money. I mean, people are scammed every day. Today, with ChatGPT, with all the news, with 1 second, you can Google a company up. You can look them up in PitchBook. You can look them up in Crunchbase. You can check everything out. People still invest in stupid things and lose money every day. So imagine then, these people lived in dark times. Like they didn't know much. And this guy sitting over there claiming to be everything else, they would believe him, they believe him. So whatever he needs in his life, he puts as a dream for himself. Okay? So he is become, like the joker of playing cards. He can put it in any combination. He will win. He just bring dream into anything. I want to marry Muhammadi Begum. That's it. 55-year-old man fall in love with a 13, 14-year-old girl, harass the family. God said this, God said, okay, if God said it, let God do it. You will die, he will die, she will die, and all those things. The non-stop harassment, all on the name of God and in the name of a dream. And he uses this dream card virtually in every single thing. You'll see it. Okay, money symbolism. I will compare that. Just to not drag this into too much, let's just say Quran and what the prophets have said. Money has always appeared as a test. It's a distraction from this dunya. In fact, money and child, has been called distraction and a test in the Quran. Yeah, money and children. So don't be distracted with that. It's a form of an obstacle course, and then this is an obstacle. You have to overcome it. It's a moral danger, and also a means. It's never a proof. If you see Quran, how Allah talks about victories. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. This is where futuhat, the word he used, and he used it to money. So Mirza's futuhat is money. Look at the futuhat. The Quran says, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. So the victory from Allah has come. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ. And then you can see that people, people, رَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ, to come in. فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. They're coming in the deen of Allah, afwaja. So Allah is saying, when the victory from Allah has come, you will see people coming into the deen. For Mirza, the victory is when money is coming to him, and donations. Anyway, so the prophetic framing of money has been poverty, then patience. So if you are in a poverty situation, have patience, have tawakkul on Allah, and work hard. So wealth is accountability. You got too much money, start worrying. You wake up in the morning, you check your SMS that says $60 billion were transferred. You were not expecting that kind of money. You already know something's definitely going wrong. You wouldn't want to go to the authorities and say, man, listen, I just got this credit. What am I supposed to do? Because all that much money, is not mine. So, and this Surah Al-Ma'arij, Allah says, "Lazina hum fi amwalihim haqqun ma'lum." Those people who in their money, they have a known right. This money belongs to who? When provision, Allah has given you enough, it's communal justice, not personal reassurance. So I can go on about this, but realistically, the way Mirza sees money is very different to how we should be seeing money in general in the light of the Quran and the Ahadith and the Sunnah of our Prophet and all prophets actually. So the balance of money is we'll talk about Mirza later on in the next episodes, but for now we're moving on from that. I'm going to refer to Surah Al-Humaza and bring you to two important points. It says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Wailun likulli humazatin lumaza. And this is what I'm going to come to and explain this in my understanding of it. Allazi jam'a malahu addada. And Allah says, Yahsabu anna malahu akhlada. That Allazi jam'a malahu addada, the one who has collected the wealth and counted it, and he thinks his malahu akhlada. Akhlada khalidina fi, eternal. He thinks his money is going to be eternal for him. And then Allah answers it saying, Kalla, no, it's not going to happen. This is a belief that they have falsely believed. So Jama ma law addada. So Jama is essentially accumulation. And it's been supplemented with another word called addada, fixation, counting. So the person collects the wealth and keeps counting it. I mean, it's not wrong to check how much money you have. If you've made a transaction, you just go back and check how much money you have in your account. It's not this. Allah is referring to here, the Quranic concern is not the ownership itself but the attachment that a person is completely psychologically possessed, like jinn possession, money possession. They are absolutely insanely possessed by it. Now, this is the zone in which the full control has been lost. You are now being controlled by this paper that you think is money. And Allah says, Kalla, no, it's not going to last you. This is only for us to wake up and understand. So liking money is normal. I love money, what it brings to me. If I'm halal earning, alhamdulillah, I'm happy for it. I work hard every day for it. Because, I'm going to enjoy this world with money. There's no reason to fool ourselves. We need money here. And we'll talk about that as to how important is money. It becomes a real big problem when it shifts from being a tool to becoming the most central thing in the universe for us. I challenge to people nothing breaks a relationship faster than money does. Even marriages. If a marriage is broken, 90% of the time it has to be something to do with money somewhere. So money is that important of a deal, right? In the society we live in, sadly. So the issue is not about how much money we need, it's what the role is playing for us. Billionaires are unable to sleep. They're unable to sleep. You can see them hoarding. They got everything. And they cannot rest. And this is Mano Addada. This is Jama'a Mano Addada. And they are getting it more and more, hoarding it and counting it more and more. And they just don't see right and wrong anymore. And this is the fitna of money. I challenge people that if you remove money from the world that we live in today, Shaitan will be unsuccessful. 99% of Shaitan's efforts will be in vain. Nothing will happen. Money is the lead problem the world is facing today. The evil that we see in our world today somehow is linked to money. It's not wrong to have money. It's right to have money. It's halal to have money. And that's the way we should look at it. So I do this when I speak to people in private. I tell them, imagine you have a saving of $100, pounds, euro, whatever. You will see that your wastage will be near nil because you have 100 only. If you increase the savings, you will see your wastage start to increase and your haram starts to increase. Not all the time, but you spend something in haram. Something in haram. You will find. You will spend the money in what Allah does not like. I don't mean haram as in going and gambling or whatever. It's something Allah, maybe even makruh, that Allah doesn't like. So as the amount of saving is increasing, the amount of wastage is increasing. You're like your old phone now. You want a new one. And you want a new one with a gold cover. You'll go all these expensive shops just to customize your cars and everything else. If you are saving is a million, your haram is just shot up, and your ego, you will not even park next to a ordinary car. You want a private parking or valet parking and this because you think you can afford it. You think you've been blessed. يحسب أن ماله أخلده. This is not going to go ever from me. I've been given because I have a divine right. I can do what I want with it. No, you will be asked for it. This money that you've spent doing this stupidity, you could have helped an orphan go to school. You could have helped a widow find some shelter. Your money is a test, and that you stop seeing it as a test. You see it as a right, and that's what I'm trying to come to you here with this point. We can go on in this. This is a thing that I talked about quite a bit, and it's very upsetting that our society, unfortunately, I have seen this video, and it absolutely made me very, very upset. And it said that if you read Allah's name after Fajr certain number of times, you will have rain of wealth. Rain of wealth. He said, paise ki barish. Like, I was like, paise ki barish? Like, who has that kind of money? Nobody has that kind of money. It's raining money. Have you seen what a rain actually is? Do you know what a rain is? When it pours, how much water has fallen on the ground? It floods cities. Not all rain is beneficial. It's needed, but if it's too much, then what? And you are reading Allah's names to get money. You're selling Allah's name for this. Is that what Allah's name is for? Uh, you know, Allah has beautiful names. Allah said, call me with those names. If you're going to call Allah, Ya Ghani, does that mean Allah, you should become a Ghani now? Where is our Iman? Where are we going with all of this? This love for money in this dunya. I can talk about this, but that's really not our topic today. So I just want to go on to this one, last couple of slides remaining, to reflect. Look at the du'as we make here, 99% dunya. And even those things that we are asking are absolutely useless, and they will not last us. And 1% is akhirah in the grave. Like, we don't even ask, in fact. A place where we are certain to go 100%. No one can say, I'm not going to go there. You'll have to go to your grave and my grave. I'll have to go there. I cannot avoid it. No matter how healthy I want to live, how much I want to avoid eating junk and everything else, I'm going to end up in a grave, regardless of it. And what am I doing to prepare for it? The dua is the most important tool to start with, and that is missing it. So you're preparing to ascend to Everest, and your oxygen tank contains nitrogen. I don't think you're going to make it, honestly. So you need a balance. And this is, okay, ask for dunya, but ask for the akhirah as well. Understand what it is. And this is the material world that we live in. We're talking about Mirza today, and I hope I have explained to you his obsession with money and the roots behind it. And this is my last slide, and I want to give credit to a friend of mine. I've learned a lot from him indeed. I don't want to name him because he's categorically asked me not to. But he said this to me, and he said that our world and this dunya and our life in this dunya are essentially like a boat and water. The boat needs water, but if the water comes on board inside the boat, it will sink. So he said, you need it, but you don't need it too much. And whatever you need halal. You need to spend in halal. And you need to be shakir all the time. You should thank Allah for what you have, what you don't have. And that is a big, big deal. When Mirza was talking about the futuhat, he was not saying, I'm grateful to the people who sent me. Allah has made them a wasila for me to get this money. He was not. He was thinking this is his victory. He was obsessed with money. This man was absolutely obsessed with money. And everything that he did it for money. And because he never had it, he never had a status. We talk about that next. In the next episode, we will talk about Mirza and education. It's very important. We talked about that in the last episode. Generally, I want to talk about the details of his education, the structure of his learning, and everything else. And when we tie them all together, you will know. And we've been arguing this all along. There's no point of opening the Quran and going to Surah Al-Jumu'ah and looking at Isa alayhi salam is dead or not when this guy is not being talked about. And that's what we are doing in a respectful way. I know people are very sensitive to this. We talk to Ahmadi people all the time. And thankfully, they all acknowledge that we are very respectful to them. but the guy they want to believe in has zero credibility to us. And we are protecting the people who can still make that choice. The ones who have gone from this earth, there's nothing for them that can be done. But the people who are alive, who can see this guy, we have not made anything up in here. We have not taken, like how the Jamaat does, use this and construct this here and construct that. That we've not done. We've given you linearly what is written about him from his own books. There are tons of things to say, but we don't want to get into that. We want to stick to the basics of it. So thank you for tuning in today. Jazakumullah khair for this. May Allah give us the hidayah and set us right in this dunya. And we would love to have discussions, and answer your question answers, but no debates. And for tuning in, and if this is your first episode, please do go and watch our other episodes, or send us a message. We'll have a Q&A about that. Thank you again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.